Well, hello, everybody. This is Reverend Karen coming at you from Fearlessly Feral Living. Coming at you from Fearlessly Feral Living. Today we're going to talk about the aurora, the northern lights, the fantastic light show that we had this past weekend. And today's date, by the way, is May the 14th. So I'm talking about May the 10th and the 11th. So I hope you got to see the light show. If you didn't, there's lots of photographs online on social media. So we had this solar storm thing, and I had an experience. I've had a few experiences with this thing. So I wanted to share with you what I learned from the aurora. But first, I want to do the introduction. So once again, welcome to Fearlessly Feral Living. This is Reverend Karen broadcasting to you from the Woogie Ranch out here in the back 40 of northwestern Nevada, where I'm a half an hour away from the nearest gas station and the nearest grocery store. Our mission here at Fearlessly Feral Living is to provide a strong and unshakable inner foundation that works for long-term successful living. Our purpose is to activate inner self-awareness. And our vision is a world in which everyone lives wild and free. So, we've had this solar storm thingy going on, causing the northern lights to appear in places where it has never or rarely appeared before. Like right here where I am in northern Nevada. Plus in a lot of other areas that have never seen northern lights before. And something really cool happened. It seemed like the entire world was out watching it and photographing it, especially on Friday night. I didn't realize it at first, but where we are, at least for part of the show, one couldn't see it with the naked eye. I kept glancing out my window to watch for it. When I learned that a camera could see it, but my eyes couldn't, I went outside with my cell phone, and sure enough, got a cell phone shot of it when I couldn't see it in the nighttime sky. I got one good shot, called it good, came in, went to bed, and slept the sleep of the righteous. See, I was being a bit cynical. I wasn't taking this thing too seriously. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Next morning, I wake up and my social media is filled with these absolutely beautiful shots of the aurora, and all taken in my area. So this brings me to the first thing I learned from this phenomenon called the northern lights or the solar storm or the aurora, whatever you want to call it. And it's about missed opportunities. So yeah, I missed an opportunity. Now, never mind that for the last several years, since I retired from being a professional full-time photographer for over 30 years, I've not even thought about photographic opportunities. To be honest with you, I've been busy with other stuff. I've been busy doing the podcast. I've been busy doing minister stuff. Never mind that my passion for photography went away. That's why I retired. My passion went away. I don't do anything unless I'm passionate about it. My passion went away. Well, it's recently returned due to me doing a lot of inner work and having a lot of healing as a result of that. So I've got this return of my passion for photography, and I still missed the opportunity. I didn't take advantage of it. I just kind of cynically went, yeah, right. It's there, but it's not really gonna be as special as it's not gonna be that special. So I missed an opportunity. And guess what? Yeah, I started beating myself up over it. And then the royal we, the committee, the other folks that live in my head said, no, we're not doing that anymore, Karen. We are not doing that anymore. We don't beat ourselves up anymore for missing opportunities. Period. It's enough. Enough is enough. We don't abuse ourselves anymore. We don't shame ourselves anymore. We don't do any of that. So that's the first lesson from a missed opportunity. If you've missed an opportunity, whether it's because you didn't go out and view this incredible show or whatever it was, whatever it is, don't beat yourself up over it. It's not worth it. What I did do about this was get over it, and then I decided, well, the solar storm is still going on. Those solar flares are still happening. There might be another light show tonight. So I resolved on Saturday night to go out with my real camera and get some pictures. Meanwhile, back with the rest of the world, and the social media is incredible. I mean, that's all there was on my social media feed was photos of the aurora, the northern lights. It was just beautiful. I saw the most beautiful photos I've seen in a long time. Here's the kicker with that. It's like the entire world stopped what they were doing. They stopped what they were worrying about. They stopped everything. And they went out and they took photos of this phenomenon. And then they posted them all on social media. So there's no more talk about politics. There's no more bitching about this and that. There's no more silly little memes that sometimes don't even carry a grain of truth in them. None of that. It was all about the Northern Lights and about how people were so much enjoyed going out at night and sitting there in the dark and watching this show. And so I enjoyed the photos, and I decided that, yeah, I was going to take pictures. And if there was going to be another show on Saturday night, I was going to be there. So I bought this new camera a couple months ago. Did I mention my passion for photography has renewed? Well, yeah, got the new camera. It's a mirrorless camera. Oh my God, the technology in this thing. Of course, I say that with every new camera I buy, but the technology in this thing is incredible. So I hadn't yet done any night photography with this camera, and I didn't quite know what to do with it, how to set it, haven't tested it. And I could have gotten one of my old cameras out and done it, but I really wanted to see what this new camera would do with it. So I pulled up the owner's manual. I pressed buttons and I tested, and I pressed some more buttons and I tested, and I made some adjustments and I tested, and I repeated that until I got the camera to where I wanted it and I was ready to photograph the aurora. And I put my camera up on a tripod, and I got my iPad ready. This is one of the new technological things. No more cable releases to prevent camera shake. Now you can just take the photo remotely from your iPad or your iPhone. So night came and out I go. I've got a little table set up where I can set my iPad on it. And I set the camera up and I get it focused and trained on the angle I want. And I take a couple test shots, and they're really nice night shots, but there's no aurora. So I wait and I wait. And I wander around in the dark, and I wandered, my camera was aimed north. So I wandered south and east and west to see if maybe the aurora was showing up somewhere else. It wasn't anywhere to be found. Came back and discovered the horses are spooking at my little setup, the table and the tripod. It's new. Now, if you know horses, anything that's new, they think it's going to eat them. So they turned into fire-breathing dragons, and they're snorting and staring at this thing and snorting and breathing hard. And I'm like, oh dear. If you've never witnessed a horse and listened to the sound effects when they're spooking at something, it's a treat because they sound like fire-breathing dragons. So I went to the horses and I talked to them calmly, and I got them all calmed down. And pretty soon they realized that my camera and tripod and iPad little table setup wasn't going to eat them. And then they were fine. So in between all of this, I took another photo every few minutes just to test and see, well, maybe it's there, but I can't see it with my naked eye. So I got to take another picture. Well, I ended up staying out there almost 2 hours. Turns out that Saturday night was a dud. No northern lights, no aurora. Dud. I did get some nice nighttime photos of the nighttime sky, but no aurora. But check it out. Here, once again, people are outside in the dark leaving their troubles behind, watching the night sky, and not focusing on anything but that beauty that happens at night, the stars and the lights and the everything. They've left all their troubles behind. Now, here's another thing that happens when we do that. I call that a timeout kind of a thing. And so when we give ourselves a timeout, we always feel better afterwards. And I'll bet you, because I felt better the next day for taking that time out, even though I didn't get any aurora pictures, I felt better. And I'll bet you all those people on Sunday morning were feeling a bit better because they took a time out. They took some time out of their lives and their worries and their stresses and all the other stuff just to look at the night sky and just be there and be with it. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I also think that that's really a spiritual practice. And you may not think of it as a spiritual practice, but it is. It is. This practice of taking a break or a time out, it's a spiritual practice. What the hell do you think Sabbath is all about? It's about taking a time out. They just call it something different in most religions. They call it a Sabbath. We all have to take time out periodically. And it doesn't matter whether it's for a few hours at night to watch the nighttime sky or what it is, but we've all got to take those time outs. And many, many people took time out to simply go outside and watch the phenomenon. And in so doing, they removed their focus from their daily worries and tasks and lives, and they turned their focus towards one of Mother Nature's most beautiful miracles. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about with this thing. This is what I thought about as a result of this light show. When we can successfully turn our thinking from one thing and towards another, we are doing what Ernest Holmes calls training our mind. Each time we turn our focus away from one thing and towards another, we're training our mind. We're teaching our mind and ourselves something. We're teaching ourselves, first of all, that the mind is not the boss of us. The mind goes where it goes, but we don't have to follow it. You see that? We are not the boss. I mean, we are the boss. The mind is not the boss. We are. And we are also teaching ourselves that we can indeed turn the focus of our thinking from one thing to another. Now, this is really useful information to have, because here's the deal. If we can realize that our mind is not the boss of us, and if we can turn our trend of thinking from one thing to another, as we did when we turned out en masse to watch the northern lights, then we can do it in other areas of our lives. It's like diverting the attention of a little kid who is getting into mischief. You give them something a little bit less harmful to focus on, and they change their focus. Well, the mind is like a little kid at times. So you give it something else to focus on. Now, here's another spiritual truth. If you went out to watch the northern lights, you know what it felt like to go out and forget your life for a while and just marvel at the phenomenon and just be there. Now, if you know what that feels like, you can recreate that feeling anytime. You can be in the midst of a crowd and go into the bathroom and recreate that feeling. You can be moving through life and have something happen and feel like you have to go hide under the covers and do so. And you can recreate that feeling. Because if you felt it once, you can feel it again. And we are, like I said, we are the boss, not our minds. We can recreate that feeling whenever we want. All you have to do is just remember what it felt like and bring it back. It's as simple as that. And each time you do this, you train your mind a little bit further. And each time you train your mind, you become a little bit more empowered to think in ways that serve you well and less likely to have stinking thinking. Ah, my goodness, isn't this a wonderful thing? So There's more. There's more. So think about this. Anytime a significant portion of the population is focused on one thing, that changes the consciousness of that population. Now, before you go running away and saying, oh my God, Karen's getting a little too far out there for me, I'm out of here. Before you go away, let me bring a bit of science in here in the form of quantum physics. Quantum physics has this phenomenon. One of these days, I'm going to learn how to pronounce that word right. Phenomenon. I think I got it. Called the observer effect, which says that we change what we observe simply because we are observing it. They discovered this in laboratories where the scientists who were running experiments realized, oh my God, we're changing the outcome of our experiments simply because we observed it. They've had to go through all sorts of hoops in order to not affect the outcomes of their experiments. So there's that. And then there's that nifty little law that says what we focus on expands. So if you focus on your worries, guess what? You're going to get more to get worried about. If you focus on stress, guess what? You're going to get more to be stressed about. If you focus on whatever, I don't care what it is, you're going to have more of that. What we focus on expands. So the entire world, it seems like, went out on Friday and Saturday night on the weekend of May 10th and 11th, 2024, and they focused on something good and powerful and beautiful. And enough people did that I am convinced that they changed the group consciousness as a whole. Because according to oneness, we are all connected on very, very deep, deep levels. That's just the way it works, guys. We are all connected. There's spiritual laws at work here. There's scientific laws at work here. And they both say we are all connected at these deep levels. So yeah, all of a sudden on Friday night, May the 10th, 2024, and on Saturday night, May the 11th, 2024, we had a massive shift in consciousness, resulting in a change in focus from all the unpleasantness of the world to something that is very pleasant indeed. Which means that individuals also had this change in focus. Which is why I said earlier that I bet there's a big group of people thinking better about themselves and their place in the world. And I think that consciousness as a whole is experiencing the same shift as a result of that. Are you beginning to see how this thing works? Are you beginning to see that this spirituality, consciousness, quantum physics blend stuff can have the power to change our world? All we have to do is switch our focus from negative things to positive things. And we do that on a regular basis. All we have to do is take a rest or a timeout or a Sabbath or whatever you want to call it for a little while and do that on a regular basis. Take a timeout, switch your focus. It's real simple. So if you went out to watch the Northern Lights, you not only got the benefit of seeing them, but you also got the benefit of some spiritual practice, of sitting outside in appreciation for all that Mother Nature provides, of experiencing the power of Mother Nature, and you participated in some really good self-care. Congratulations. Now, do that more. Do that type of self-care more. Take a little break, give yourself a timeout, recreate the feelings you felt when you were watching the light show. Train your mind a bit by switching your focus from any unpleasant stuff that's going on to pleasant stuff. Recognize that when you are doing that, you're contributing to the well-being of the world because of our connection through oneness. By the way, a little bit about spiritual bypass here. When I'm saying to turn your focus away from unpleasant stuff to pleasant stuff, I don't mean do that forever. If we've got unpleasant stuff in life that we've got to take care of, we got to take care of it. If we're sick, we got to go to the doctor and get the meds and do what they say and all that stuff. If we've got an addiction, we've got to do what's necessary to get into recovery. If we've got unpleasantness going on in our life, we got to take care of it. I'm not saying not to take care of it. I'm just saying switch your focus for a little while. Guaranteed, when you go back to take care of whatever's going on, you'll be more effective at it if you take the time out and shift your focus for just a little while. So be well. I hope you got to see the Northern Lights. And if not, I hope you got to see all the great photos of it on social media. And I am knowing Fearlessly Feral Living for me and for you. Fearlessly Feral Living is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living, and your support is much appreciated and fully tax deductible. I have all the links for the ways that you can support us in the show notes. But basically, if you're listening to this podcast on Buzzsprout, you can click the little button that says support the podcast. You can go to my website at fearlesslyferal.org and click on the donate tab. And that'll take you right to PayPal, where you can donate there as well. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed those Northern Lights.